I was born free. Free to run across the open fields of my village, free to swim in the clear streams, free to dream under the African sky. In the rolling hills of Kunnu, my childhood was filled with laughter, adventure, and the wisdom of my elders. But this freedom was an illusion. One day, I would come to understand the chains that bound my people, and I would dedicate my life to breaking them. At Fort Hare University, I believed I was on the path to knowledge and success. It was one of the few places where black students could pursue higher education. But even here, injustice loomed. When my fellow students and I stood against unfair policies, we were punished. I was expelled, my first lesson in resistance. But I would not stop. This was just the beginning of my journey, a journey that would take me to Johannesburg, to the heart of the struggle, and to my destiny. Johannesburg was a city of opportunity, but also a city of deep injustice. It was here that I joined the African National Congress and helped form the Youth League, believing that young people could change the future. With my friend Oliver Tambo, we opened the first black law firm in South Africa, fighting for those who had no voice. But legal battles were not enough. The streets were calling. The protests were growing. The people were rising. The fight against apartheid had begun. The courtroom in Pretoria was silent as I stood to speak. My voice was firm, my words unshaken. I have walked a long road to freedom. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. For the crime of seeking equality, I was sentenced to life imprisonment. But though they could lock away my body, they could never imprison my cause. The fight for freedom would not end with me. Robben Island became my home for 27 years. The walls were thick, the guards unyielding, and the work exhausting. But they could not break our spirit. In the silence of my cell, I read, I learned, and I taught. I became a prisoner, but I also became a leader. And beyond these walls, the world was waking up. The call for freedom was growing louder. My time would come. For 27 years, I had been behind bars. But on this day, I walked free, not just as a man, but as a symbol of a nation's hope. The streets were filled with joy. Black and white, young and old, they stood together, celebrating not just my release, but the dawn of a new South Africa. As I stepped forward, I knew that our journey was far from over. But in that moment, we had won. Freedom was within reach. 27th April 1994. The day South Africa was reborn. For the first time, black, white, and colored stood together, not as enemies, but as equals. The lines stretched for miles. Some had waited their whole lives for this moment. And when I placed my vote into the ballot box, I knew it was more than a vote. It was justice. It was freedom. And when the results came in, I was not just elected. A nation had been set free. 10th May 1994. A new day for South Africa. As I raised my right hand, I knew this moment was greater than me. It was for the generations before us who had fought, suffered, and sacrificed. It was for the generations after us who would inherit a free nation. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sky erupted with color, and the people, black and white, stood together as one nation, free at last. South Africa had been broken for too long. Our past was painful, but our future could be different. I knew that true freedom was not just in laws, it was in our hearts. And so, I reached out to those who once stood against us. I wore the colors of the Springboks, once a symbol of division, to show that we were one people. I asked my fellow South Africans to forgive, not because we had forgotten, but because we were ready to move forward together. Nelson Mandela stepped down as president, but his mission never ended. He fought for justice, for education, for the future of humanity. His voice inspired millions. And when he left this world in 2013, he did not leave us empty, he left us with his legacy. A legacy of freedom. A legacy of forgiveness. A legacy of hope. The world will never forget Madiba, for he taught us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can rise.